Hello everybody and welcome to another And I. This is Sylvester Stallone and I. Sylvester Stallone was my first favourite actor and he still is one of my favourite actors. He's still in my top 5, but he was my first ever when I was a child. Between 1976 and 1985, he did make 4 Rocky movies, and I think sometime after 1985, somewhere between 1985 and 1990, I must have watched all the Rocky movies so far, Rocky 1, 2, 3 and 4. I did have Rocky 4 on video, and I kind of obsessed over that one. I remember watching it over and over. I specifically remember a time of coming downstairs to put the Rocky 4 video in the video recorder to watch it, and my mum going, no, not a chance, pick something else, I'm not watching that again, get it back upstairs and go and pick something else, which I find quite amusing at this point. So that's how much I was obsessing over Stallone and Rocky, and ultimately Rocky 4.
You can do it, son. And defeat the real champion.
Where's the stretcher? Somebody sent for us in. Let him breathe, for God's sake.
What started out as a joke has turned out to be a disaster.
You can miss the fun. If he dies, he dies.
I think in the late 80s, as well as Rocky 4, I used to watch Rambo 3 quite a lot. I remember purchasing that. My dad took me to the local independent record store in our town. It was called Soundhouse. And I remember even then, we all know that the prices of DVDs, VHSs, they fluctuate quite a lot. I wouldn't pay £15 or £20 now. Obviously, it's different. We stream, we get things over the internet. And if you want to buy something as soon as it comes out, if it's, a blockbuster, a decent film, it can be anywhere from between £15 and £20. This is 2025. Back then, in the late 80s, I remember paying around about $15.99 or $16.99 for the Rambo 3 video. Ridiculously expensive. I couldn't appreciate exactly how much money he spent on one video for me. When I took that home, I'd watch that over and over again, and I think that might have been it. I'd watch Stallone movies on telly if they were on, but I think the main two things were my Rocky 4 video and my Rambo 3 video, and that's why I started getting obsessed over him. I also remember in 1990 going to a birthday party. There was a girl in our class called Leanne, and she invited me to a birthday party. In 1990, I would have been 7, so I'm assuming it was her 7th birthday party. I wasn't excited about the party, but I was more excited that I knew that after the party, my mum and dad were going to pick me up and they were going to take me to see Rocky 5 at the cinema. And Rocky 5 came out in 1990, and I was only 6 or 7 at that point, and I was already an obsessed fan by that point. They were taking me because they knew how much it meant to me. They knew it was going to be a massive treat and how much I was looking forward to it. And I think that was a turning point, really. Rocky 5 in 1990 was a turning point, because after that, that's when I was starting to wait for movies of his to come out. I was waiting for them, watching for them, rather than playing catch-up, as it were. I was in the video shop looking for movies, but looking for new ones, etc. We're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. Let's go back. Let's start at the beginning, or at least our beginning. We'll start with Rocky. Rocky 1. The interesting thing about Rocky is that by the time that movie was made and came out in 1976, Sylvester Stallone was already 30 years old, okay? He'd already been at this game. He'd been trying to be an actor, for what, 8-9 years. He'd already made movies. None of them had done very much. But he'd been in movies with people like Henry Winkler, who played the Fonz in Happy Days. That was called The Lords of Flatbush. He was even in an Al Capone movie. But his big break comes when he's 30 years old in 1976, when he writes a script and he gets producers to fund it and ultimately allow him to star in it. And that's when he blows up. From there, in 77 and 78, he does make a couple more movies, but they don't do nearly as well as Rocky. He doesn't have another big thing, another big movie, a big deal, until 1979 with, you've guessed it, Rocky 2. He writes this one, and this time he directs it as well, and it's incredibly successful, and this character has got legs. 1980, 1981, he makes a couple of movies. They don't really do anything. So far, his biggest hits are Rocky and Rocky 2. So, what happens in 1982? Well, besides the fact that I come into the story then because I'm born in 1982, Rocky 3 comes out in 1982. And again, a monster hit. The other interesting thing about 1982, other than that I was born, is that First Blood comes out. So that's when we get introduced to the character of John Rambo. So 83 and 84. The same thing happens again as it did previously. He makes a couple of movies, they don't really do anything, and he doesn't have another hit again until 1985 with Rocky 4. But also in 1985, he releases Rambo 2, First Blood Part 2. So this one is called Rambo First Blood Part 2. So this time we get the titular character name of Rambo. So in less than a decade, he has created two iconic cinematic characters in Rocky and Rambo. Any movies made in between these characters is not memorable really whatsoever. But in 1985, after 4 Rocky movies and 2 Rambo movies, he turns a corner, because in the late 80s, he starts making movies in between these characters which do make some money, are successful, and become iconic in their own right. Movies such as Cobra in 1986, Over the Top in 1987, kind of a cult movie. Tango and Cash in 1989, which was literally my favourite film as a child. Tango and Cash I watched over and over, much like Rocky 4.
Glad you could drop in. You like jewelry?
Oh, fuck you.
I prefer blinds.
I would recreate the stunts. I loved the stunts. Every scene that had a stunt, somebody jumping out of a window, somebody smashing out of a car or of a truck, I knew them all. I knew all the lines, and I would recreate those scenes in my bedroom. And then we arrive back now then at 1990, which, as I mentioned, was a turning point for me in a way, because that was when Rocky 5 came out. It was the first time I saw Stallone in the cinema. And after that, the early 90s, I'd be going to the video shop by myself. I'd be seeking out movies by myself, and really looking into his catalogue and his library, and trying to get to grips with all the movies that he'd made. So in the early 90s, I'm catching up on all the movies that he made in the late 80s, as I mentioned, Cobra, Tango and Cash, etc. But in 1991, and I think this is pretty much my first memory of me seeing a film in the video shop and thinking, oh my god, that's a new film with Sylvester Stallone in. Unfortunately, it wasn't really, it was kind of an attempt at comedy. I read recently that it was an attempt at quite an old historical kind of style of comedy from the 40s, but it was called Oscar. And I remember getting that and taking that home and being quite disappointed with it, just because I didn't get it. I think, in retrospect, people have watched it now and kind of championed him for trying to do this, trying to do something else. He has tried to do comedy before. In the early 80s, he did a film with Dolly Parton, which I still haven't seen, called Rhinestone, where he plays a country singer. I still have not seen that movie. But every time he does attempt to do comedy, it kind of doesn't work for one reason or another. But this Oscar in 1991, it was kind of a classy comedy. And I have seen it since again, and there's quite a subtleness to it. But at the time, when I was like 7 or 8 in 1991, I just didn't get it, and I was quite disappointed. However, coming straight after that, we have kind of a golden age, if you want to call it that, or maybe a renaissance, when in 1993, we get absolute iconic classic movies of Sylvester Stallone, and I was there waiting for them, couldn't wait to watch them. It was happening in real time as I was a fan. First of all, we get Cliffhanger.
Oh God! Sarah! No! Sarah! You're okay. You're gonna be okay. No!
Sarah, I'm coming for you! Sarah, I'm here.
I don't want to die!
Sarah! Sarah,
You're not gonna die. Don't you lose her, kid! It's up!
Please don't let me fall! Please, please, I don't want to die! I'm dying!
Reach up!
Help! I'm
Gabe! Man, don't you lose her!
I'm swimming!
Sir, please.
No, I'm swimming! Gabe! Gabe, don't let me fall! No!
And then we get Demolition Man in 1993. These are both amazing Sylvester Stallone movies and absolute classics of his catalogue.
And you're trespassing.
Where are the passengers?
Yes, the passengers. Well, they're, fuck you!
Last time, Phoenix. Where are the hostages?
To hell with the hostages. This is between you and me.
Yeah.
What? What you got, soldier boy? Do something. Go ahead. You up to your ass in gasoline. Set your ass on fire. Is it cold in here? Or is it just me?
where are they, Phoenix?
Now, where did I put him? I swear, I'd lose my head if it wasn't attached.
I'll keep that in mind.
before, in 1992, he did actually release Stop All My Mum Will Shoot, which is considered a bit of a raspberry, do they call it? But I love... I was 9 years old, man, and I still to this day love Stop All My Mum Will Shoot. The story behind that is that apparently he was somewhat tricked into doing it because Arnold Schwarzenegger, who he was kind of an adversary of at the time, they didn't like each other. Best friends now and have been for many years, many decades. But at the time, Schwarzenegger put it around Hollywood that he wanted to do this script, this Stop All My Mum Will Shoot. So because of that, Stallone told his agent, "You get me that script, I'm doing it, he's not doing it, I need to do it." But Schwarzenegger knew that it was a bad script and actually really didn't want to do it. Stallone ended up doing it and caught quite a lot of shit for it. But again, I still love it. I think it's great. But I don't know what to tell you. I love that movie.
Moment.
Stop! Or my mom will shoot!
Also in this time, I'm recording interviews off television with Stallone. In the late 80s, me and my sister were given a VHS tape to share that we could record things of our own off telly. We thought that was great. It was Donna and Lee's tape. That's my sister, Donna. But by the early 90s, around 92, 93, I've got like 3-4 tapes of my own VHS tapes. I can record anything I want off telly. And that's what I do. I record Stallone movies, cartoons. As you might have seen in another video, I recorded Halloween for the first time one night in my bedroom. But I'm also recording Stallone interviews. I was recording anything I could get my hands on. I remember the weekly morning television show Big Breakfast with Paulie Yates. I recorded one with Michael Aspel, where also Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis were there promoting Planet Hollywood, and they were all promoting their own movies at the same time. I was just anything I could get. I had a full tape of around about 5 or 6 different Sylvester Stallone interviews. After that, unfortunately, well, I say unfortunately, it's unfortunately for me, just like with, I'm a big wrestling fan, and around about 1994 is the year that I finish junior school and go up to senior school. So I'm coming of age, I'm becoming a teenager, and just like wrestling, I started to think that maybe Stallone was a bit corny, a bit uncool. It didn't help with the fact that in 1994 he released a movie called The Specialist. Now, even though it's full of action and it's kind of corny and cheesy, it's kind of like it's like a steamy thriller. So it wasn't for me anyway. It was still, it wasn't like an action film. It was an adult action film because there was sexy scenes in it and it was trying to be smooth. It's got Sharon Stone in it. I mean, these kind of movies that I kind of rejected at the time, as it's not as good as they used to be, Stallone. I still watch them to this day because I love Stallone so much. I now embrace the corniness and the dialogue that has been written that he's trying to pull off. The Specialist comes out in 94, and then I would say, as the further I go into senior school, the less I watch Stallone movies. In fact, I can tell you right now that in 1994, Stallone officially became my second favourite film star, because in 94, a little-known comedian named Jim Carrey blew up on the scene. So my first year in high school, Jim Carrey comes out of nowhere, and he releases 3 #1 movies. He's Ace Ventura, then The Mask, then Dumb and Dumber, and I'm kind of Stallone who, at this point, was all about Jim Carrey at that point, and I officially told my friends my new favourite film star is Jim Carrey. But that's not to say, Jim Carrey is no longer in my top 5. He might be in my top 10, but he's not even, never mind number 1, he's not even in my top 5, where Stallone is still in my top 5 now at 42 years old. In the second half of the 90s, after The Specialist in 94, starting with Judge Dredd, these movies I think are commercially successful. They're not losing money, but the fans are getting a bit bored, and the critics certainly have been bored for a while now. 50-50 throughout his entire career, to be fair. But he has still got a massive, massive fan base. And obviously he's been iconic. He's been a leader of pop culture for getting on for 2 decades now. Nobody can take that away from him. In 1998, we get Copland. Now, Copland is brilliant. When Stallone first did Rocky in 1976, people were calling him the next Al Pacino. He was lumped in with De Niro and Marlon Brando. But of course, that would be not the path that he would take. But in 1998, we do get the film with Harvey Keitel, Robert De Niro, Ray Liotta. This is brilliant, and it's a kind of method acting, and a lot of people don't like that term anymore, but it's a kind of method acting that we would come to expect from people like Robert De Niro. Stallone, who had been a massive fitness freak now for at least 15 years, throws it all out the window, and he puts on a load of weight. He's eating ice cream and burgers, he's got this bag for a belly, to quote Scarface, whereas before he had a very lean six-pack. Even though it's a great movie, it didn't do quite what people were expecting. The theory now is that it got weighted down by the cast. The cast was so big, there's so much expectation from it, that it didn't quite live up to all the big names that were in this movie. However, if you watch it now, it's solid. It is a solid movie, and I think it's quite underrated, to be fair, Copland. It's just a shame. Maybe it was at the wrong time. Maybe if it came out in the noughties rather than 90s, it might have done a bit more. But I think everybody was too used, really, to Stallone being, the muscular, bulked up, superhero action star. People weren't quite ready for what he attempted to do. But I think with the test of time, he ultimately did show and he did accomplish what he was trying to do with Copland. Towards the end of the century, other than Copland, I myself have found Stallone obviously to be a little bit uncool at this point. I'm a teenager, come to 99, I'm 16 years old, that's the year that I finished school. And by the year 2000, he's releasing movies like Detox, and Get Carter, and by this point I'm not even giving these movies a chance. So in that early noughties period, as I say, from 99 to 2006, that's a good 7 years where I'm not paying attention to him, really. I leave school, I get into my first serious relationship, I have a child. That relationship unfortunately didn't last, and I am actually in my second relationship by this point. I was working in a call centre, and I hated that job. It was quite far away, it was a couple of towns over. I remember coming back through, between where I lived and where I worked, there was another town. I remember coming through there, we were doing a carpooling at the time, so I was in the back seat talking to the driver, who also worked at the call centre, and all of a sudden, I'd not seen anything or heard it, because, it's still pretty early days of the internet, to be fair, 2006, so I'd not seen or heard anything, and all of a sudden, on the side of a bus stop, I saw a poster for Rocky Balboa, black and white. I think on the front of it, it's the back of Stallone, but he's kind of reaching up with his fist. And I was like, stop everything, whatever I was talking about in the car, don't care anymore. What is that? That is a new Rocky poster, Rocky Balboa. There's a new Rocky. And so not only did his career revitalise simply from that movie, which I'm sure totally, specifically what he was trying to do by bringing out another Rocky movie, but obviously so did my interest, and I'm sure a lot of other people's as well.
Angry?
Are you mad because Adrian left you?
She didn't leave, Paul. She died.
Okay.
Sometimes it's hard to breathe. I feel like this beast inside me.
It's okay, Rocco. Please, it's okay.
Is it? Okay. I just never knew it was supposed to be this hard. It wasn't supposed to be like this, Paul, A
couple of years later, we get Rambo. Never had just a Rambo. We had First Blood. We had Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Rambo 3. And this one's just called Rambo. Technically, though, Rambo 4. And then again, a few years later, what else do we get? He reinvents, reboots a genre with the Expendables movies. So in 2010, he gets all the old boys up from the 80s. He's got Dolph Lundgren. He gets Bruce Willis.
What happened to you?
Got my ass kicked.
So, just like he finally ended the Rocky saga as he intended by making Rocky Balboa, because a lot of people were not happy with how it ended with Rocky V in 1990, he also has now ended his career how it should have been ended. Instead of his career dying down and petering out, he revives it by making Rocky Balboa, another Rambo movie, and then reignites an entire genre by bringing back the Expendables, and he will also make another 3 movies after that, 3 more Expendables. The 4th one coming out just last year. I've not seen it myself, only because I know that I don't think, because he's almost 80 now, and he's not got a big part in it. So I think Jason Statham has took the lead part in that, and I'm honestly not a fan of Jason Statham, unfortunately. But either way, I did love the first 3 Expendables movies when Stallone was at the helm. He makes some movies in 2013. He makes Grudge Match with Robert De Niro. And he also makes Bullet to the Head, which I went to the cinema to see. Bullet to the Head does okay with the critics. Not amazing. Well, I mean, nothing at this point is going to do amazing. Because Stallone will never give up on this action genre. He wants to be the hero, the all-star. So in 2014, I meet my wife. We've been married almost 10 years now, 10 years next month. One of the reasons why we get on so well, why we love each other, is for our love of films and actors, one of them being Sylvester Stallone. The first year we met, we managed to get to see him in conversation with. Couldn't believe it. We were actually in the same room as Sylvester Stallone. It was at our local arena where you put on concerts, etc. They basically shut off half the arena and sold tickets, and we got to go and see him on stage, talk about his career. It was brilliant and something I never thought I'd get to do. Since then, I've had the opportunity once or twice to actually meet him and get a photo, but it's far too expensive. There was a couple of shows going on. It's like a black tie, dinner, autograph, etc. But you would have to spend £1,000 before you got there and before you even met him. We really couldn't afford that. A few years ago, I was going to bite the bullet. I had the opportunity to just pay a one-off payment of £500 just to meet him and get a photograph. But by the time I decided to pull the trigger, they'd sold out, unfortunately. So I was a bit gutted about that. What I have managed to do, though, is I've managed to meet quite a few people who've worked with him. So I'm quite proud of that fact. I've met Dolph Lundgren and Carl Weathers, both from the Rocky franchise. I've met Danielle Harris. She was in Daylight with him. Craig Fairbrass, who was in Cliffhanger. Jesse the Body Ventura, who had a little part in Demolition Man. I've met Mike Tyson, who's got obviously linked to Stallone. They've worked together on The Odd Thing. So I take those as victories because, unfortunately, I'll never actually get to meet the main man at this point, I don't think. Just recently, he has, the last few years, he's got his own TV show that's really taken off. He's done the odd film here and there. Some of them work, some of them don't. But this TV show, Tulsa King, it's from the makers of both The Sopranos and also the writers of Yellowstone. And it's brilliant. It's done really well received, and I couldn't be happy for him, to be honest with you. So this is where we are. Avid fan when I was a kid. My interest, along with his career, it could be said, was aligned. I'm assuming it wasn't just my interest that was petering out. It was a lot of other people's too. You get into the noughties, his career was really dying down, and it could have petered out. But what he did was, got back on the horse, wrote what he knew, went back to his characters that are iconic, Rocky and Rambo, and then he was off to the races again, and his career got back on track, as it should be. And as I say, he's nearly 80 now. I don't know what will end first. Either his career will finish first, or, he will leave us, unfortunately. But he will definitely leave on a high, because he pulled himself back up to the top. I'm still a fan, and always will be, and this is our journey so far.
These battered hands are all you own. This broken heart that's turned to stone. Go hang your glory on the wall. There comes a time when castles fall, and all that's left is shifting in the sand. You're out of time, you're out of place. Look at your face, that's the measure of a man. This coat that fits you like a glove, these dirty streets you learn to love. So welcome back, my long-lost friend. You've been to hell and back again, and God alone knows how you crossed that span. Back on the beat, back to the start. Trust in your heart, that's the measure of a man. On the hand, above your troubles while you can.
Who the fuck you think you are?
He thinks he's Rambo.
Rambo is a pussy.